Hello everyone, my name is Gary. This is God Talk with Gary. A couple of days ago, I was in conversation with two friends, one an avowed atheist and another an agnostic. We were meeting on a common a theme, a hobby that we share. And the topic went around to this current crisis that we're facing. They're facing economic difficulties because of being laid off and the difficulty of maintaining a private business. We talked about the current crises and the difficulty it was posing, and I said yes, it's one of the biggest difficulties that we face. I being a former pastor and professor and a follower of Christ, this is a great difficulty. And my two friends were cordial, but quite adamant that this was the biggest challenge they had to faith and believing in God. Because, as they put it, if God was such a good God, he should want to stop this stuff. And if he was powerful, as we claim he is, he should get about doing it quickly. Well, of course, that's just the old rehash of a philosophical question and a serious question. It is the most difficult question that Christians face. We believe that we live in a created world, a world that's created by God, a good God, a sovereign God, an all-knowing God, who can do everything that he so desires. And we base our ethical system, our jurisprudence, on what we call the Judeo-Christian ethic. And therefore, we are sort of banking on the fact that there is some sort of correspondence between our desire for justice, our desire for good, and those being a characteristic of the God that we claim to worship. So when you have tremendous tragedy, unexplainable horror, like war, the Holocaust, or natural disasters, or this invisible and silent enemy of the COVID virus, it poses a challenge. I take their question seriously, because for them, what creates the problem is not so much the philosophical issue as the hypocrisy they seem to see in those who claim the name of God, especially Christians who are disrespectful of the government and the health system's suggestion that we avoid gathering and group meetings. They pointed out, and we're glad to point out, to my embarrassment, churches that are claiming to stay open because, they believe in God and they're filled with the Spirit, and God's Spirit is going to protect them from this evil. Well, you have to wonder about the wisdom. Religious zeal can run away with knowledge. I mean, the same Bible that says God can perform miracles and God can protect us from evil is the same Bible that says that we should respect those in authority over us, especially kings and the government authorities, and for us, the health authorities. And so I would like to encourage you who are followers of Christ to honor the government suggestion about non-public gatherings, social distancing, self-isolation. All of these are really good. This is wisdom that we see in our healthcare system, in our government system, and we should be good citizens. We should not rebel against these kinds of things in the name of faith. The same Bible that encourages us to believe in a good and all-powerful God also encourages us not to tempt God. And so we cannot be exempt from the suffering that's in the world simply because we take the name of God upon our lips. But my friends, they're respectful. They weren't hostile to me at all, but I could tell in their heart they were kind of hostile to a belief in God because of the way some Christians are behaving, and probably other reasons that weren't stated at the time. But I take their objections seriously because they're reflective of an old philosophical question related to the problem of evil. And I thought I would offer a pastoral reflection on why bad things happen to good people. Why is it sometimes that really good people suffer and sometimes really bad people don't? But this question, if God is all-powerful, he should be able to stop. And if God is all good, he should desire to stop this kind of evil. And we are assuming, of course, that the evil that we're facing is not an illusion, it's not in our heads. And so that's the greatest objection that people have to believing in God. You know, if God is almighty, God must be able to stamp out evil. If God is all good, God must want to stamp out evil. But evil really exists. Therefore, God isn't all-powerful, or God is not all good, or maybe God does not exist at all. It's just a pipe dream, pie in the sky, to make excuses for not doing the best we can as human beings. But there are inadequate solutions. Christians cannot say that God isn't almighty or that God isn't sovereign. Christians cannot support the idea that God is not good. These are clearly stated beliefs in the Holy Scriptures. And we certainly can't say evil is an illusion. I mean, some religions in the world tend to kind of push you towards that viewpoint, but not for the Christians. So we cannot claim that God isn't sovereign or almighty. We cannot claim that God is not all good. These are not adequate solutions to the problem of why bad things happen to good people. Christians are not exempt from tragedy. Christians are not exempt from disaster. There's no guarantee that you will live forever simply because you go to church, or that somehow or another you can be protected from this virus if you say the right kind of prayers or have the right kind of enthusiasm. And please don't tempt God. Please don't lay out there, behavior that is more zeal than wisdom, What we are facing is a common kind of painful trial. And even one of Jesus' disciples, St. Peter, said, "Dear friends, don't be surprised at this kind of painful trial you're suffering. Don't be surprised at it. It's not something strange that's happening to you. The rain is going to fall on the just and the unjust. Some of us are going to catch this virus, as two of my friends are, who are now dying with this disease. It's tragic. It's tragic. But I do trust that your faith will remain strong, and I do trust that you check back and hear a little bit about how I'm trying to process this as a Christ follower. May the Lord bless you, and may you find in your heart the willingness to work for the good of your neighbors."